All.
We just started.
Good morning, all. Happy Wednesday. I'm Sandy Goldstein.
I'm Julie Picardi.
We're real estate attorneys, and today we are broadcasting live, topless, sort of. We're in Julie's car. It's really cute. We would move the camera, but we've been having camera issues this morning, so I'm not moving the camera.
Yeah. And we're hoping it doesn't rain, so.
Yeah, so we may make this a little bit quick.
We just had breakfast at
breakfast.
April's today.
Yep, April's 2. If you've been to April's 1 in Lynn, April's 2 in Salem, really good. And we are in the car, and we,
got airplanes going by.
Exactly.
Weed whackers out that way, but it's all good.
We could go to Framingham, but we're not coming today.
Not today. I have to go meet title insurance
we got things to do. Anyways,
today.
we'll give you the shout out.
Exactly.
But today we are going to talk about something legal. Shocking, I know, huh?
Hey, we've been talking about legal
We
stuff.
have been stuff, yeah. So today we're going to talk about how to take tenancy when you're purchasing property. And there's 3 ways. You can take as husband and wife, tenants by the entirety.
But you have to be married to do that.
You have to be married to do that, because it has to say a married couple, or husband and wife, or wife and wife, whatever it is, a married couple. And or else there's joint tenants with rights of survivorship, or
individually.
Tenants in common, or individually.
Well,
so there's 4.
And then, of course, there's also the businesses, like a corporation could be a title, but the main ways would be individual, joint tenants, tenants by the entirety, and tenants in common.
Yeah. And predominantly the main difference between them has to do with death, unfortunately. With tenants in common, each owner owns an undivided interest in the half. And so if one were to pass away, that half, thank you airplane, would go towards that person's estate. Whereas tenants by the entirety and joint tenants with rights of survivorship, the property automatically passes to the other upon death.
Which means basically there's no probate that would be needed.
Right.
It happens as an operation of law, so that there's a right of survivorship built already into that type of a tenancy.
Yeah.
So you own it. Sandy and I own property together as joint tenants. If I die, Sandy gets the whole property.
Right.
But they share the interest in the whole. That sometimes causes. It could cause an issue if there were boyfriend girlfriends that are buying properties and then they break up. Because then you have to get the court. You have to petition the court. No, wait. Petition the court to partition to separate that joint tenancy in order to be able to sell it.
People who are not married buying property, maybe they're gonna get married or such, there's issues to think about and should be discussed with an attorney, because if you're not married, there's no divorce court to go to split the
tell you how
the
to
property.
dispose of the property. Exactly. So that causes a little bit of challenge in that situation.
I had cousins that were going to buy property together. Hey Barbara, hey Joe. And they weren't married, and I had offered to do them a trust, so you thought maybe that way. And then they became engaged, and I got a picture with Barbara holding up her diamond ring saying, Joe thought of a better way instead of that damn trust you wanted to do. So that was kind of fun. And
so it all depends. So when you're going to buy a property, if you're not doing it individually and you are going to be purchasing that property with somebody else, there are the things to think about. I mean, obviously, as a husband and wife, we would say you do a tenants by the entirety situation.
I had one husband and wife that did tenants in common. I have no idea why.
But it might have to do with tax stuff. I think that might have to do with tax stuff. But the tenants by the entirety does afford some extra protections against creditors, I believe it is. So the married couple gets that extra protection, where the joint tenancies, obviously, if people are just buying together. But I usually say if you're buying a property together and you're doing it for business purposes or whatever, to look at some of the other alternatives, like forming an LLC or putting it in a trust, something that way you can have either an operating agreement or the trust documents that would basically decide how the property would be disposed of if the situation went sour.
Yes, and regardless, at your closing, I know it's exciting and all that kind of stuff, but as buyers, you should make sure that your deed says what you want it to say, because you can't come back later and say, oh, that's not what I meant. I wanted it the other way. I had a situation with a probate matter that I was working with my beloved friend Ronnie, and the woman had received the property, they had purchased the property. It was actually on 2 deeds, 1/3 and 2/3, which is a bizarre way to do it, but many years ago they did it that way. Long story short, one of the deeds said tenants by the entirety, husband and wife, and the other deed said nothing. And when it says nothing, the courts interpret it to be tenants in common. So that 1/3 that said tenants in common, when the husband passed, his heirs were to receive 1/3 of that property. And the issue is that he had children from a prior marriage, and halfway through his probate, one of his daughters died. She was married, but we couldn't find the husband because it was a process of a divorce. It was ugly, and it's still ugly.
And that ends up being the biggest problem. Even if it's an error where a tenancy is not stated on a deed, it defaults to a tenant in common situation.
And that's what this did.
So that ends up being the issue, because if there are 2 people and it was really the intention that there be a right of survivorship between those 2 people, but that's not specifically stated on the deed, then by default it's a tenant in common, and each of those 2 retain a 50% interest, and that 50% interest can only pass to that person's heirs. So again, if Sandy and I own a piece of property together and we don't state a tenancy, it's assumed that we're tenants in common. Sandy has 50% interest, I have 50% interest. If I die, my 50% interest would pass to my children, which would cause Sandy a problem because I have minor children. So that would cause a whole big issue, because the minor children,
the kids like me.
The kids do like you, but they wouldn't be able to sign over their rights. Because
but they'd live with me.
They would live with you.
That'd be great.
There you go.
Oh, we'll just do it that way.
But they wouldn't be able to sign over rights. So that's the other thing. You don't want to have minors. You can't have minors, but some people will do that with trusts, where they'll name the minors as the beneficiaries, and that also poses a problem, because if you're the trustee, you sign a trustee certificate saying that you're acting at the direction of all the beneficiaries, and that all beneficiaries are of sound mind and of legal age. So if your beneficiaries are minors, that poses an issue as well. But so you want to make sure the tenancy is clearly stated in the deed, so that it doesn't default to tenants in common. Like I said, the majority of people will do the, not even married, but the majority of people do a joint tenancy with the rights of survivorship, because that avoids a probate. It's pretty much
exactly.
So it happens automatically as an operation of law. And then we get into all kinds of other stuff with this life tenants, life deeds, and stuff like that. But the basic tenancies when you're buying would be what we discussed.
So on top of everything else with buying a house, just make sure that you understand your tenancy. Talk to your attorney. Hopefully it's one of us.
No, it's absolutely got to be one of us.
Absolutely, it's got to be one of us, because we know this stuff.
We know it.
So give us a call for all of your real estate needs.
Yes.
And have a good week, and we'll see you next week on
Where Are We
Wednesday.
We have to figure out where we're going. We're approaching the end of the month next week.
I know. So you never know. You never
know.
But
time's a flying, summer's a going.
We'll see you. Maybe topless again. Okie dokie.
Maybe driving.
Maybe driving. Oh,
I don't think I can do this while I'm
think
driving.
so. No, that would be illegal.
That would be
illegal.
Illegal violation.
Oh, God, she's a lawyer. Okay.
I'm just joking.
All righty.
You can hold the phone and I can drive.
I can do that. Yes.
Have a great day, everyone.
Have a great day. See you later. Bye.